What's good, everybody? As you can see, I have a bandage over my nose. I'm fine. Just have some things that they need to heal up. I was going to go to work. I was not going to record a video today. I was going to let there be some breathing room. But we have breaking news, and obviously, breaking news in the NBA takes precedent over anything that I got going on. This is a real report, by the way. The Boston Celtics have emerged as a team that is interested in Kevin Durant. And why this is breaking news? This is breaking news because it's not just like, oh, they're interested and we have to see what they do. They offered Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a draft pick to the Nets for Kevin Durant. Shout out to Shams. I'm on The Athletic. I'm subscribed on there. And I see the article right here, right now. Brooklyn rejected it, and Brooklyn has asked Boston to include Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, draft picks, and potentially one more rotation player, according to the sources that Shams is speaking of. The Celtics are not high on including Smart along with other players and pick assets, but they're thinking about their next steps. This is a insane news update for me to wake up to. All right. We did the locker room last night, talked about all things basketball. I thought I was going to wake up today. It was going to be another calm day. I go to work, I cook, I work 10 hours, come back, you know what I'm saying, add on to the film thread. But instead, we have this trade proposal. This is wild. My immediate reaction to this is Boston was a team that I initially thought of, and I asked many Celtics fans, "Are you trading Jaylen Brown to get Kevin Durant?" And the popular response I got back was no. And in my opinion, the reasoning for that being not a crazy response is because Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are still both young and they have time to develop with the roster around them. However, there are arguments to be made that maybe Boston is even throwing Jaylen Brown in this because they are of the mindset that in the next 2 to 3 years, Jaylen Brown is not going to be as open as people would think to re-signing with Boston. And if that's the case, you have to trade high on Jaylen Brown before he walks away for nothing. As far as the basketball fit to it, Kevin Durant, if his second option is a two-way wing that can also play make, like turning Jason Tatum into a secondary playmaker is going to make him look a lot better. And on top of it, in both situations where Kevin Durant struggled, both in OKC in the playoffs and in Brooklyn this year in the playoffs, there were two problems. In Brooklyn, there were no like there were not many or at all two-way wing defenders on Brooklyn who could score at a elite level and play make at a solid level. Those did not exist. It was basically Kevin Durant trying to create a bunch of advantages and opportunities. Kyrie to a lesser degree doing the same thing, and they struggle. And on top of it, they could not sustain defense because, to be honest, Brooklyn's offense was still good. It's just their defense was really, really bad. But if you put Kevin Durant in Boston, he's in a situation where you have rim protection with Al Horford and Robert Williams. You have wings still. You still have Tatum. You still have Grant Williams coming off the bench. And you have Brogdon, who you just acquired, so he would still be there. And specifically, again, like the shot creation from Tatum and Kevin Durant is a serious thing. If Tatum becomes a number two option, that is a very scary offense. And again, they're still playing defense. So I think it's a very interesting trade. I think if it's me, I would have to hit the brakes on that. I don't know if I do that trade only because you're putting a lot on Brogdon to have to be healthy in the playoffs to be your point of attack navigator. And specifically, at least with Jaylen Brown, you do know that they're on the same timeline. Like Tatum and Brown are on the same timeline to improve and get better. But if Boston is really entertaining this move, then I think that they want to go all in. They want to win the championship this year. They don't want to wait 4 to 5 years down the line. They don't want to open the opportunity of not giving Kevin Durant and potentially losing Brown in free agency when his contract comes up. So to me, this is a very telling move from Boston, and the potential backlash from this move, which we got to get into, if you're Jaylen Brown, how do you feel about this? And I understand Jaylen Brown is under contract. He's probably not going anywhere. Maybe a reality exists where Jaylen Brown doesn't even care, right? But what we have to keep honest about the situation is if you are Jaylen Brown and you're in a position like this where you've heard your name in trade talks for years, because for years, people have talked about splitting up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's been the popular take. So now you're in trade rumors again. Jaylen Brown could potentially say, I don't want to be here anymore, trade me on my deal, which I don't think he will, just because he's reached the height of success with this franchise and made it this far, especially after how he played both in the playoffs and the finals. So I think from his perspective, you would still want to stick that out just because there's optimum success with your current situation. But I'm just saying, the way that we see stars move and how stars become disgruntled in this league, stuff like this, I would not be surprised if he was thinking about that down the line. And if you're Boston and you understand that that writing is technically on the wall, this is a good feeler to throw out there. However, it's just still wild. Thinking about Kevin Durant and Tatum on the same team is really, really nuts. And then I like obviously Brown going to Brooklyn, he would be their number one guy to build around, which I don't like that necessarily, just because I think Brown in the league will be a highly capable number two option, possibly, but I don't really see number one as much. Same thing could possibly be said for Tatum, which is why if you have Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum with great coaching and great two-way players and three-point shooting, I think that can be a championship contender, which I still think Boston has their name in the mix for it right now, but I can understand them doing this because getting Kevin Durant doesn't lengthen your window to me, but it widens your current window in the next 3 to 4 years. That's what they will be banking on. We get Kevin Durant, we have a 2 to 3 year window where we are competing for championships at the highest level. If you keep Jaylen Brown, then in my estimation, you're letting Brown and Tatum develop, which could open up your window for longer, but it's not going to be as wide. So, very, very interesting. Um, I still don't believe that the Kevin Durant trade is going to happen just because there's a lot that you have to make happen, and also don't forget the Jazz Gobert trade. I do believe publicly at least is going to set a expectation for the trade return for Kevin Durant. And also, is Kevin Durant even gonna be like willing to want to go to Boston? I really don't know. However, I do think if you look at both of the teams that he wanted to go to the Heat. He wanted to go to the Suns. If you're just looking at basketball teams as far as stability, both of those teams are stable teams. They were at the top of their conference and they were ultra competitive teams in the front office and their player core. If KD has a opportunity to play with Tatum, who I know for a fact he respects as a player, then I could see him putting up with Boston. But obviously, the location of Boston compared to a Miami or compared to a Phoenix is not going to be as desired. So I'm really interested on how Kevin Durant might potentially feel about this. But again, we have to remember here, this trade scenario has nothing to do with where Kevin Durant wants to be. Although that will play a part of it if he gets traded or not. It definitely will. But the number one thing is what Brooklyn is receiving back in the package. So them asking for Jaylen Brown, picks, and Smart for Kevin Durant makes perfect sense because they want to get a younger all-star to keep them competitive so that way they're not in basketball purgatory for a super long time and someone that they can have hope and build around. I don't know what the ceiling of Jaylen Brown is, but whatever that is, I still don't think that's going to be quite enough, and that's why they ask for more. So I definitely get that. However, if we're just like throwing things out there, can you imagine Ben Simmons if things pan out? By the way, I'm not super high on Ben Simmons, as you're going to see in our locker room fill space on Wednesday. Make sure to follow me on Twitter so you'll be able to see the space. We will be streaming that on Twitch. But I I'm very curious about that because having Ben Simmons and Jaylen Brown as your elite perimeter defense, Ben Simmons playmaking in space, Jaylen Brown being the go-to scorer, there could be some upside to that for Brooklyn. And I think as far as trade packages go, they would have the strongest like individual star talent that Brooklyn would be getting back compared to any other team. So that is one thing that the Celtics would have over every other Kevin Durant trade package. But again, like the overall depth is going to hurt them. That's the thing. You're going to sacrifice your point of attack screen navigators, but you're getting back Kevin Durant and you're making Tatum a number 2 option, which could make him like really, really insane. I will say that. But gotta go to work. Did not think this was going to happen. Shout out to Shams for the reporting. Let me know in the comments if you're Boston, are you doing this trade? But yeah, peace out, people. I'll catch you guys in the next video, which will actually be planned and not spur of the moment like this one. Peace.